Today I'm doing a custom order for some armbands. These armbands are going to be used in a cowboy action shoot to designate who the posse marshal is. So I'm going to show you how I make them. There may be a better way. Somebody may have a more convenient way, but this is the only way I've found to make armbands. I start out with a 5.5 inch wide by 28 inch strip of cotton fabric. Then I sew it together long ways with a 3/8 inch stitch, and my stitch length is on 3. I may turn it down to 2.5. And I sew down the length. At a 3/8 inch allowance. Okay, now what we have is a tube. Now we got to take this tube and we got to turn it inside out. And what I use for turning my tubes, this is called a bodkin. You put your fabric in between the teeth and push up the little holder, and it'll hold your fabric taut so you can thread this through to turn it. The thing is, I need to turn my tube the wrong way around, so I stick the bodkin in, fold the fabric down in between the teeth, push it together, and then push, whoops, gotta get that in there, push it together, and then push the little ring up to secure it. And you see that teeth has got that. So now I can just thread the bodkin through the tube. Now if you don't have a bodkin, you don't want to go out and buy a bodkin, that's okay. I used to use a pencil with an eraser on it, and the eraser would hold the fabric. I just stick the eraser in and turn it like that. I think I have a video on turning it with the eraser, if you want to check back on that. But then I found this bodkin in Hobby Lobby, and when Hobby Lobby has a sale, I take advantage of it. So we're just going to turn it inside out, the whole tube, take off our bodkin, and now we have a tube. And what I do is I take it over to the arm, and I put the seam in the middle of the tube, and I press it. I press it so the seam is in the middle. And then I sew the two ends together. With a 3/8 inch seam allowance. And I'm sewing them on the wrong side. See the seam is going down the wrong side. I certainly need to get more light in here. No, that's not going to help. Yep, I need to get more light in here. Got to get a better overhead light. Anyway, I'm turning the seam, and on the wrong side, I'm going to zigzag stitch over the raw edges. So I'm going to set my machine to zigzag. And do the other side. And that takes care of the raw edges. Now this is going to be covered up by the stringers that's going on it. Okay, now we got to mark the middle. And what I do is fold this seam that I just made over to get the middle on the end, and I finger press it, and then I take my chalk and mark it on both sides. Okay, now I put what I just marked together with my seam to get the middle part of the other ends, or the middle of the middle. So we finger press that, mark it on both sides. What this does is make sure we get an even distribution of our elastic, because the elastic is going to be sewn on next. Now, we got the centers marked with our chalk. So these are all equal distance apart. Now we got to take our elastic, and here's the elastic I use. I picked this up at Hobby Lobby too. It's called Knit Elastic from Loops and Threads. And the elastic is 12 inches. It stretches a little when you sew it, so it'll be 13 inches probably, or 14 before it's done. So we got to mark the center of the elastic just like we did on the armband. So we need to get that center and mark it. And same on this side. We need to get that centered and mark it. Mark it so you can see it, because when you sew this on, you're going to be holding it with both hands and stretching it. Okay, now what I like to do, if you got a free arm, I take out my free arm, and I'm going to start at the seam. So I put the seam there, and then I take the end of my elastic and I put it next to the seam. You don't have to be on the seam, but next to the seam, because it's going to be covered up with the streamers. And then we're going to sew it. Sew the end down. Oops, I forgot to turn that back to straight stitch. Here we go. I'm going to sew the end down. Back stitch. And now you see this line where we got the middle, it's got to be stretched to this line. So we're going to pull it down to that line and hold it while we sew. We're going to sew while we pull with the back hand and stretch with the other hand. Having a free arm, lets this go around it and keeps it straight. So now we got this mark on the elastic. I don't know if you can see it very well. So we got to stretch it to this mark on the armband. So we continue doing that, stretching and pulling. Stretch, pull, and sew. And we're going to get all the way around. The armband. Okay, we're almost at the end. I like to get my threads cut. And then we got the last stretch here. And we're going to stretch it up to the seam. Back stitch and sew across. Back stitch. And I'm going to pull it off because I got to turn it around and put it on the free arm. Because I want to sew down the other side. See, I've got one side sewed. So I need to sew down this side. So I need to pull it off and turn it around to put it on the free arm to make it easy for me. So now I'm going to sew down this side. Back stitch. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pull and stretch. Pull, stretch, and sew. Now when you're searching for elastic, get some elastic that's going to hold its shape after it's stretched. You don't want that elastic that that as you stretch it, it stays all stretched out. And if y'all work with elastic, you probably know what I mean. Too many threads. Okay. So after you've made it to the end, back stitch, trim your threads, and get any loose threads that you may have missed. So there you have your armband. Okay, now I need to put my faceplate back on, and we need a posse Marshall. These are the streamers we're going to sew on. So they're going to go like this, and we're going to put them underneath on the wrong side of the armband, so that when it's on the arm, the streamers will hang down and people can see that, oh, he's the posse Marshall. Now to do that, I'm going to need to sew it from the wrong side. And because I'm putting black on, I need to change my top thread to black. Okay. Now, We need these to hang down so they can read the posse marshal. And we're going to sew them on. Black thread on the back, red thread on the top. We're going to do a box shape. And that catches both of those streamers. And back stitch. And we're going to clip our threads. Try not to clip your merchandise. Clipping our threads. Okay. Now you have an armband that says Posse Marshal. Okay, now you have the ends of the armband. We want to tidy up the ends of the armband. And what I like to do is cut them at an angle. Like that. And like that. Then I get my lighter. And I burn the ends so they don't ravel. Eventually they will, because this is grosgrain ribbon. Or actually, no, I tell a lie. This is not ribbon. This is thin seatbelt webbing. And it's very thin, so it will ravel eventually. But there you have it. You have a Posse Marshal armband. These are a custom order for one of our local clubs. Thanks for watching, and be sure and like and subscribe.